what is a tessellation? It's not a word you hear every day and sounds like something complicated. In fact, tessellations are quite beautiful and can be as simple or complicated as you want. They can even be three-dimensional. A simple definition of a tessellation is a repeating shape that covers a surface without any gaps or overlap. The word tessellation comes from the Greek word tesseres, meaning four. The first tilings were made from square tiles, so the description of four fits. The earliest tessellations were found as mosaic pictures on floors in old Roman buildings. Some modern-day tessellations include soccer balls, bathroom floor tilings, and wallpaper designs. The most famous creator of tessellations is the Dutch artist M.C. Escher, born in Holland in 1898 and died in 1972. He completed 137 tessellations in his lifetime. He originally studied architecture before becoming interested in woodcuts and printmaking. Many of his works are referenced in today's pop culture, including his lithograph, Relativity, in Family Guy Season 4, Episode 15, as an M.C. Escher rap.
Going up the stairs and going down the stairs and going up the stairs and going down the stairs and going up the sideways stairs.
There are three main types of symmetry in a plane: translations, reflections, and rotations. These symmetries are how we are going to create our tessellations in this week's project. To create these tessellations, we're going to need a few supplies. You're going to need blank paper, a pen or pencil, scissors, index cards, and tape. What you want to make sure you do is create a design that goes from corner to corner on either the bottom or the side or top of the side, doesn't matter. But you're going to take one side and translate it or slide it to the other. Then you're going to do the same thing with the other piece, slide it to the top or the side, wherever it is that you made your design, but keep it the exact same way that it was. Then use some tape and tape it so that, again, the corners are lining up. If you have any little bits of tape that kind of stick over, make sure you fold those over. So tape each side. Again, watch those corners, make sure those are lined up, because that's going to be key for when you're doing the pattern. But line it up, tape it. Use a lot of tape, little tape, doesn't matter. But now you've got your pattern that you're going to use for your tessellation. So now that you have your pattern, you're going to start lining it up in a corner and trace the outside of your pattern. Because this is a translation tessellation, you're going to slide your pattern over so that one side matches the other, which is why we had originally, when we cut out the design, translated from one side to the next. So you just keep doing that all the way across. So you're translating your pattern from one side to the other. Down below, notice how each part matches up because of how we designed the pattern. Once you have it that way, you can look at it and think, okay, what picture does this have? So sometimes you need to look at your design from different perspectives to see what you can see in the picture. One direction it might look like a bat, another direction it might look like a face, it might look like ice cream cones, whatever it is, rotate it to see what you can see. Once you've figured out what you can see, so in my design what I see is a face, take colored pencils, markers, I'm using gel pens, find something and start coloring in your design. So I see a face, so I'm going to first start by drawing eyes, and I'm going to do that in every single one. And then I'm just going to continue from there, and I'll see you at the end. Alright, so mine ended up being a face with blonde hair, orange hair, some green hair at the bottom, but all my faces look as identical as possible, and there you have it. There's my translation tessellation. So just like with the translation tessellation, you want to draw some sort of design from one corner to the other corner. That corner is important. Once you have the one side, go ahead and cut it out. Once you have one side cut out, you're going to go ahead and draw another design again from corner to corner. Doesn't have to be the same design, it can be similar, but the key thing is go from corner to corner and then cut that out again. So once you have your two sides cut out, make sure that you line them back up, because to do the reflection, we're going to need to make sure we know how they started so that we can flip them over correctly. So take one of your pieces and then see how it would go, and then just flip it over. So that's going to be the reflection, and then place it on the opposite side. Do the same thing with the other one. Take it, flip it, and put it on the other side. Once you have those reflected and lined up, take your tape and tape each side. And again, make sure that the corners line up, because the corners really are key for when you're making the design. So take your tape, tape it up, and then you're going to have your pattern for the reflection tessellation. Now, just like the translation tessellation, we want to start in a corner, and we want to line up however you want to choose. I like to line it up with the main part of the index card, but you can really line it up however you choose. And I'm going to trace the pattern. Now that we have our pattern, we're going to reflect it onto the other side, just like we did at the beginning, in order to create the reflection tessellation. So take it, flip it, line it up, trace. So we're going to continue to do this throughout the rest of the tessellation, where each time we're going to reflect it either horizontally or vertically to continue the tessellation all over the paper. You have now completed your reflection tessellation, and now the last thing to do is to see the picture inside of it and draw it out. Unlike the other tessellations, this index card needs to be made into a square. The size of the square doesn't really matter as long as it's a square. Once you do that, the same follows as the other two, where you're going to draw a design from corner to corner. And after each design, cut it out. Once you have your pieces all cut out, line them back up so that you can rotate them onto the side that is adjacent to where you cut them out. So instead of going across like in reflection and translation for those patterns, we're going to rotate and put them right next to each other. Once you have them all lined up corner to corner, take some tape and tape them together. Now we have our pattern that we're going to use for our rotation tessellation. This one's a little bit different. It does start off the same, so pick a corner, however it is that you want to line it up on your paper to begin with, and trace. Now that we have our first pattern drawn, we're going to rotate our pattern 90 degrees. So as you can see, I'm rotating it. It's lining up with one of the other edges that I had before, and again, I'm going to trace. Now that we've finished our second pattern, let's go back to the beginning and see how I'm rotating around a center point that's in the middle. And so once again, I'm going to keep rotating and trace. Sometimes if you can't remember which way you were rotating, go back to the previous one and then rotate it from there to figure out, because you're going to rotate in the same direction each time, and you'll know you have it when it all lines up. Now that you have your first set of rotations complete, put your pattern on the next side exactly as you did in the beginning, same direction, and you're going to be able to figure it out if when you rotate it again, it's going to fit on the same side. Once you have that, again, just continue rotating and tracing until your pattern is complete. Now that we have our rotation tessellation complete, look to see what picture you can find and decorate just like the previous two.
Alright, so my challenge to you is now to go to the document section on the school website to find this week's thing on geometric tessellations. I have printed directions there. See what you can come up with. If for some reason you don't have any of the materials, I do have some templates that I made in this video here for reflection and rotation, so you can do one of those tessellations. If you want to do a translation one, you're going to have to make your own. Go ahead and leave pictures of what you guys come up with in the comments. I can't wait to see what you guys do. See you next week.